Stand Fans Forum. It's time to have your say as Manchester United and Ruben Amorim fail to get back-to-back wins. It's now 8 Premier League away games without a win, and Brentford beat Manchester United 3-1 in the end. There were opportunities there for Manchester United, but it just was never enough. There's VAR officiating to talk about, there's penalty misses to talk about, but ultimately, is that performance convincing enough for you? Is Ruben Amorim managing games in the correct way? Well, have your say, get your super chats in. It's an interactive show. There's plenty to discuss. I'm joined with Kev, Mordzs and Tull. I mean, let's get straight into it, guys. Let's get straight into it. Does anyone volunteer as tribute to start us off?
I'll go.
Mordzs, I just want to ask you, first and foremost, how you're feeling and how do you feel it goes from here?
How I'm feeling, I mean, obviously it is deflating. It is deflating, but there's a part of me that kind of just, I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really coming out of this game thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe United lost, because realistically, this happens every single week. We come back after these games after thinking, oh, something's going to change, and nothing has changed. There was no progress in today's game, regardless of people saying, oh, but if Bruno scored the penalty, and that wouldn't have made any progress anyway. It wouldn't have made a difference into how we are playing football. And we mentioned it on the build-up about the whole stats, and everyone saying, oh, but look at the XG and look how many shots we had. Look at today, we had more XG than them. We had more shots than them. We had more accurate passes. We had 4 big chances, and we had about 14 shots compared to their 10 shots. It meant nothing.
The eye test don't
Anybody who watched the game would know that we were not the better team. We were not playing good football. We were missing loads of passes. Even the chances that we did have I think 4 of them came from Sesko's goal, because he in that space of 10 seconds. So the point I'm trying to make is, if people actually watch the games and they actually use their own 2 eyes and they can see we are not playing well, it doesn't surprise me that we even lost today.
Well, I want to just do a quick fire around the room, and this is just a question. It's not like Amorim in or out. We might talk about it if you guys want us to. Get in your comments, you lead the show. But my quick fire question, and I'll just go bang, 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 and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about Amorim and the game and how it went today. But do you think this manager has shown signs that he can be successful at United?
No, what?
Mordzs?
I couldn't be more successful than this manager.
Tull?
No.
And get in the comments how you feel, if it's a yes or a no. And yes, we can look at the players, and we have to look at the players, because some of the performances were abysmal. The lack of, in my opinion, intensity and energy. You've had a week off. You've had a week, and Brentford look way more up for it, way more aggressive. Of course it comes from the top, but the players have to be held accountable as well. Of course they do. But the way Ruben Amorim has set his team up and the way he fails to adapt in game is something that I can't look past. I don't understand how he's going to be able to quickly turn it around like we need him to do so. I mean, Tull, for you looking at it, where do you think the biggest problem is?
The in-game management, the substitutions, and you can even say sometimes the starting 11. Today, I can't really say the formation was the biggest problem, but it was more so the personnel on the pitch. And there's just so many subs which look like blatantly obvious subs, where I don't really want to pick out players today. I'm not really in the mood to pick out players and single players out. But just for an example, out of a massive bunch of shit performances, like Bruno and Cunha are on the pitch for 100 minutes today, and they were just crap all game long, and they just think, how have we not took them off the pitch? Surely you get to about an hour and you think, right, we've got to, these guys are just stinking it up, really. I mean, it's contagious, isn't it? You know, for the rest of the players, if you've got people on the pitch who aren't hitting the passes right and aren't keeping the ball, it just ruins everything. It spoils it. So the fact that the manager can't see it and just say, you know what, we've got to change this for the greater good, then I'm just losing faith in him every game. The sense in me says I don't want to sack him yet, but that's more just because I don't want to sack any manager at this point in the season. It's not really because I believe in Amorim. I lost faith in Amorim in March, to be honest with you. I lost faith a long time ago. I just think right now with the situation, they're going to have to just stick with him for a little bit, and because there's no one there to bring in. Do you know what I mean?
But that's
the issue is and I'll come back to you and I'll get you involved in a second. The thing is for me is, how long do you just blindly stick with it? Are we sticking with it because Ineos and the footballing hierarchy who employed him don't want to look foolish and don't want their image tainted by this appointment, and they've changed the whole structure of the team to adapt to a system, not probably invested in it as much as they should, made wrong decisions along the way. I mean, we brought in a number one goalkeeper who's not number one. We're relying on number two of last year, who by day had a good performance today, but we can all agree isn't good enough for the future. Didn't get a midfielder, put Bruno Fernandes back into midfield. Didn't take the money from Bruno Fernandes to do that, but not playing him in his proper position to get the right amount of money out of him. It just, some things along the way just don't make sense. And are we just sticking with Amorim, hoping for the best, hoping things are going to turn it around because he was the guy you went with, it will get better. But to stick with someone and hope it's going to turn around and have faith it is going to turn around, you have to see something. We've had a pre-season, he's had money spent on him. Fair enough, you know, we should have got a midfielder, had to get a number one goalkeeper. I know he asked for wing-backs, but he's got enough quality in that team, in individuals, to perform better than he's doing now. And I see zero signs for me to have any faith. Like zero. Even the in-game management today, it felt like you just switched on attack mode in FIFA. I mean, I don't even know FIFA that well, but I know my brother in that plays it and you all play it. And when you switch to ultra attack, that's how it felt. Like, oh, we'll just get on all the attacking players on the pitch. We might score a goal then. That's so simple. So simple. And you know, if you look at the elite managers, that's just not a decision that they're going to take. It felt like he was out of his depth, in panic mode, and you've got to come into it with a mind of, this is Keith Andrews' 6th game as a manager in the Premier League. He lost Johan Wissa, he lost Brian Mbeumo. Okay, yeah, they've spent money to replace these players, but they were all over us. He identified our weaknesses and he identified them with ease, and they capitalised on it the whole game. Long throws, bullying us, crosses into the box, pressing us, and we just couldn't get around it, and Amorim had no answers. I mean, Keith Andrews, who's been in post for 6 games, Amorim's been here for 10 months and has had a full pre-season where it's supposed to get better. We've got a full week, we're not in Europe. I just don't see where the excuses are. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're all right.
I said I weren't going to rant today, show.
I was going to say, it does seem to be getting worse, and anyone that's watching and saying you're being reactionary, every single week we know exactly what is going to happen. Yeah, I've come to the studio today, I'm predicting a 2-0 United win, and that is because of the false hope that I was given last week when I seen the performance against Chelsea. Yes, people were saying, oh, this system does work, but it only works against 10 men, bantering me, whatever. Today, I just thought, you can look at it from the manager's perspective, and I do look, and I think, if I am Amorim, you need to help yourself out, set up the team. I think we all knew deep down that Bruno was going to start in midfield. Would I have started him? No, because I said on Countdown to Kickoff, I'd much prefer Man Utd to be in there, which he reverted to at a stage. At the same time, I do look, and I know there'll be people hounding the manager and, you know, saying he's not good enough, he's not fit enough to manage this club. He's definitely under pressure, but I just look at the players sometimes, and I know he's had a massive job of trying to get rid of these, you know, the players that have been an issue at the club. At the same time, you could argue today that Harry Maguire not getting out, you know, and playing him onside, not getting out quick enough. Is that on Amorim? Well, I suppose you could say, you know,
he chose to have him there as a last man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So he's chosen that personnel. The second goal, you've got 4 United defenders ball watching. The goalkeeper, you know, that is on Amorim. Amorim has got rid of Anana, who is the worst United keeper I've ever seen. And somehow now it's almost like infectious. I'm looking at Bayinda and thinking, it's almost going into him. I know you just said you thought he had a good game, but come on, man.
That third goal was terrible.
The third goal is absolutely ridiculous.
He was getting peppered, though.
Makes him look like a prime Ronaldo finisher. When you look at it back, I mean, there's Brentford fans in the crowd going, oh, you know, as if it's an absolute worldie. It's straight through him. Bread and butter for any half-decent goalkeeper.
The game's already gone at that point, though, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We just never looked like scoring as soon as he started making his substitutions. I mean, even in the second half, to be honest with you. And there's so many people in the comments, and I'm going to come to your super chats in literally just a second. There's so many people that are coming in with their say, which we love to see. But so many people saying, what about Bruno? What about Bruno? Everyone was poor. Bruno was really poor today. I've got to be honest about that. But Kev, you know, Amorim was the one who's deciding to keep him on the pitch for 90 minutes.
Exactly,
he could have substituted him.
That's what I can't defend at this moment in time. That's why I just said before, set yourself up and give yourself half a chance. And again, you can look at it and go, well, the play. How were they so switched on for Chelsea last week? You know, I know the sending off changed it a little bit, but from the first whistle, one of the things I've not seen from an Amorim team is a team that goes out and actually looks interested, looks up for it. You know, set challenges flying in. They had the Old Trafford crowd behind them. And just every other week, it is one step forward, two steps back. That's exactly what it is today. Brentford fully deserve that today. But again, if you set yourself up differently, you're giving yourself half a chance of competing in that game. But again, I do honestly think that a lot of the players need to have a hard look at themselves. And yes, if Bruno scores that goal, the penalty, of course it would have made it a different game. You might have had another 10 minutes of United, you know, Brentford looking psychologically and thinking, oh God, you know, United are going to come at us. But the mask is kind of slipping with Amorim, with the changes at the end. We're all sat here going, who's playing where? What is going on? He has never done that at Manchester United. You know, he's always kind of maintained that he will keep the system and we will suffer. I keep saying this, we're suffering every single week. And today, to make them mad changes at the end, like you said, it's almost like FIFA custom tactics, where it's like some kid on a PlayStation, on an Xbox, that goes and puts like 7-8 attackers all. That for me is Amorim now actually going against his beliefs, his philosophy and everything. He's just down that and put it to one side. He's under pressure massively, you know. Does it matter if you know, if people want to sit and watch this today and say, well, are you Amorim out? Of course I don't want to see the manager going. At the same time, it is not sustainable. We cannot continue like this. And without scaremongering or whatever, we've mentioned before the R word, relegation. And this is like relegation form. You know, somehow we've got 3 points against Chelsea last week. These are the teams now that we're battling against. Brentford finished above us last season, but Brentford fully deserve that today. And it's a worry. Of course, I'm concerned as a Manchester United fan.
I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to what you're saying there. And especially, you know, you look at the players, and I think when Amorim's making all them substitutions where it's like a deer in headlights, as a player you're thinking, does my manager actually know what he's doing? Like, that's how I would feel at that moment in time. It just felt like full on panic mode. But there's super chats coming left, right and centre. Ian Tracy says there's zero signs Amorim can improve things. We've gotten worse and a lot of his decisions are baffling. It really feels like the end for him. Pop Hun says this has gotten beyond ridiculous. How long do we accept results while waiting for this to hypothetically come good? Brand new attack and it looks toothless unless we're against 10 men. Big Shot Yomi says a manager that doesn't reflect on his mistakes, doing the same thing every week. Hashtag Amorim out. Sirabar says it's so easy to play against us. Most Premier League teams play 3 in midfield against our 2 and one of them is not an actual midfielder. Also, why are we playing 3 centre-backs against 1 Brentford lone striker? And he still got the better of him. JDV says Bruno was good for United, but sometimes a club needs a clean sheet. New captain, Arsenal did, and it works. The best teams don't play with the count anymore. They play with 3 good, hard-working midfielders. Red Army says De Ligt cost 2 goals. Maguire has to cover for him. Bayern says we're thinking of extending Maguire's contract. I don't think we are going to. I think we will get someone new in, but it's a good point. George says there's no way back for Amorim now and we won't get a permanent manager, but we must hire short-term resolution to save this season. Well, European football is an absolute must for Manchester United, and that team doesn't look like a team that's anywhere near European football at all. Decisions are going to have to be made.
We're playing 1 game a week. You know, the amount of people that have said to me, oh, Kevin, it'll be a bit of a blessing, actually, that we've not got European football this season because Amorim can train the players, you know, he can get the idea across. Well, to me, I don't see anything at this moment in time to suggest that United being out of Europe is helping us anyway. We've got 1 game. We've been knocked out the Carabao Cup by Grimsby, which is embarrassing in itself. The FA Cup don't start till January. We've got 1 game a week to navigate through, and nothing is changing. It's just like up and down.
So the more time he's getting with him, the worse they're getting.
Make it make sense.
The more the coaches him, the worse they get.
To get them away from the training ground.
This is a question that I've got to ask you guys as well. There was a really good super chat in there about the attack still looking toothless. You've gone and got Cunha, who was on fire last season and has been great for Wolves over the course of quite a few seasons now. You've got Mbeumo, who was 20 goals last year for Brentford, just brilliant season upon season, right? You've gone and got Sesko, who Arsenal were going for, Newcastle were going for, you know, good scouting network, and he scored today, yeah, but you know, we've yet to see maybe the best out of him. Is that on Amorim's system that this attack that I thought was going to be a star-studded attack coming into this season, still, I know it's early doors and they need the chemistry and stuff, but we still don't look like scoring goals. You can talk about XG all you want. We don't look like scoring.
Look, and this is the point that we keep on making every single week. Who in this team has got better on Amorim? And
do you know what as well? I was thinking about it. Like, say you go 2-0 down in, was it 20 minutes or something? I don't know, 30 minutes. Yeah. We go 2-0 down the first half anyway. I'm thinking to myself, well, that's that. Because I know we're not scoring 3 goals, and I'm thinking about winning, obviously. You want to win. And I'm like, that's that. That's it. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think there was issues under previous managers, and I don't want any revisionism or anything like that. We need to be aiming much, much higher than anything we've been in the past, you know, how many years after Ferguson. Like, we want to be competing at the top. But even under previous managers, I think to myself, do you know what? You know, we could go and score 3 at least if you went 2-0 down. We don't look like scoring. We've invested 160-ish million into the attack.
Is it? I don't know. It seems so easy to say it, but you do hear about these players that say that Manchester United is just a different animal altogether. And again, I'm not making excuses, but when you take Mbeumo and Cunha, who were statistically 2 of the best players in the Premier League last season, and probably have been the last couple of seasons at their previous clubs, when they come to Man United for some reason, what is? I can't put my finger on it. You know, I know Manchester United is a huge club, but we're looking at players that we've even sold. McTominay, do you know what I mean? He's been nominated for the Ballon d'Or. Who could have, yeah, you know, like even predicted that would happen? Anana, the worst keeper in United's history, you know, goes to the club that he's at now, gets an assist, a man of the match on his debut or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you're looking at these players that kind of flourish. I don't know. Is it the club too big? Is it the pressure of playing for United? Because I'd
actually say in terms of the attackers, right, while we're on it, I don't think the attackers were the biggest problem today. I thought Sesko was okay, thought Mbeumo was okay. I think Cunha was poor. I'll be honest, I think Cunha was quite poor, but I think he should have been taken off. So I do stick that on the manager a little bit, because you've got Mount and Xerxes, you can come on a lot earlier and slot into that position. You could even have put Bruno there if you wanted to. There's a lot of things you could have done differently and rolled the dice. I think the biggest problem today was we never 1 minute had a grip of the game. And I feel like the defence today just set everyone up for failure. I mean, I couldn't believe that you've got De Ligt and Maguire on the pitch, and it's like we'd never seen a long ball in our life before. The ball was in the air, and it's like they were like ducking for cover and trying to protect themselves. You'd think with De Ligt and Maguire on the pitch, you'd be pretty well set up for it, so that's concerning. But even just playing the ball on the ground, I don't feel like any of the defence got a proper grip of the game and really controlled the game. And without that, without really having a grasp of the game, your forward players can't flourish as much. So I do sympathise for them a little bit. And honestly, I thought Mbeumo was okay today. I can't really stick anything on Mbeumo, but for the lot of them, I'd say if the game wasn't so, you know, if we could just get hold of it a little bit more and not be flapping from balls going over the heads and stuff like that, then maybe the attackers could flourish a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? If there was a little bit more stability.
I think a big issue is the fact that everyone seems to be on a different wavelength. And again, I hark back to the fact you've got 1 game a week, you've got a full week of training, you've had a full pre-season, you've got some players who want to play it on the floor, you've got deficiencies in our team, which means we're just kicking it to Brentford constantly. Dallo, even Bayern Day, just obviously it was instruction, just pumping it long, and it was so frustrating to watch that we were so slow on the ball, and you had opportunities to put them passes in behind, or play forward football. We would be too safe with it, we pass back and then we just boot it to no one anyway. It just seemed like everything was super out of sync. You've had a pre-season, you've got 1 game a week. Why are we out of sync?
Can I just say on that point, and I agree with what you're both saying, but and I know this might sound very negative, but I don't care. This can be the negative for him today, innit? I truly just believe, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying about how having more time in training doesn't actually help us, because I genuinely feel like what he's trying to do it will never work. And that's why I feel like, regardless of how many days training we have in a week, regardless of how many pre-seasons we have, those players could probably try and execute Amorim's system the best that they possibly could, and it just wouldn't work. It's just what he's trying to get them to do isn't suitable for this kind of Premier League football. And the fact that I genuinely feel like every single team in the Premier League can come up against United, know exactly what we're going to do, know exactly how to stop us, and know exactly how to get goals. If that is the case, we are in for a big, big problem this season, because we were literally talking before we came on live. I think someone put up a tweet saying that, like, the only reason we didn't get relegated last season is because Amram didn't come in earlier. Like, Amram came in after the FA Cup, we would have had a horrible season. Like, it would have been worse. Like, I know we can't finish 15th, but we don't know what could have happened if Amram came in just after the FA Cup. And even this season, we were talking about it during the game, the teams that came up are better than the teams that went down. If we're not careful, we only just about beat Burnley. The team who else came up, Leeds and Sunderland.
Sunderland will be a big one.
If we go and lose to Sunderland next week and Leeds give us a difficult game, all of a sudden it's like, well, the easy teams that we beat last year, we're not able to beat them anymore. So it's like, what are we just going to keep on going until what happens? What is going to be the low point? I put this on my Instagram before. For everyone who's out, whatever camera it is, but everyone who's out there, he's still hammering in and he's still on this, like, I don't know, this high train that they just think that everything's going to click next week against Sunderland. At what point do you look at this team and you look at the results and say, okay, this is too far? Like, if it wasn't Grimsby, which it should have been for most people, if it wasn't losing the final against Tottenham, it should have been a clear eye-opener for a lot of people to say, actually, wait, something's wrong here. How come we can't be the only English team in the Europa League? If it wasn't, I don't know, to today's game, it wasn't losing loads of games last season, at what point do you look at it and say, oh, wait a minute, this is not working? Because I don't see how much low we can get before people realise it.
All I'll say is he's got Sunderland, that's going to be massive. Anfield away.
Sunderland should never be a massive game.
Very, very quickly. Liverpool away, Anfield. If we go into that game with Ruben Amorim as our manager, as we currently are, I will be frightened. They're currently getting beat by Crystal Palace 1-0, by the way. Ismaila Sarr scored. But going into that game, I will be absolutely petrified currently, to be honest with you.
The worry for me, right, and when you see a team, how long has Amorim been here? About 9 months, is it?
Nah, longer than that.
10 months, shall we say? So that team today, literally, if you just just turned on the telly, it looked like some kind of charity game or like UNICEF game where the players, they just got all these like, let's get Cunha and then Mbumo and throw them in, and like some all-star like Premier League team, and kind of put them together. And it actually looked like they'd never played together before. And we should be seeing. I'm in for the, if we can see signs of progression and stuff and these little sort of clicks on the pitch and partnerships. But when you look at that today, and the sad thing was as well, players didn't really seem to want the ball. I always say this hot potato thing. It's like, where I throw it to Tull and Tull goes, throws it to Mordzs, and nobody actually, it should have been, yes, you're looking at Bruno Fernandes, your captain, the man that's made things happen, but even he was off it today, and it sets the tone, it spreads around that team. And I've always said it, when United are on it, we're on fan forums saying there could be potentially 8 man of the matches. When United are off it, you're talking about a collective, I find it very, very difficult to look at that match today and say that anyone walks off that pitch and can actually say, do you know what, I give it my all.
Well, that's why we're not really individualising it, because the whole team performance was absolutely terrible, from manager to, the most of the players. I know certain people pick players out, and if you want to discuss certain players, then get your super chats in and we will come to them and we will discuss it. But Ruben Amorim, there's some quotes coming out that I will read out because they're very interesting. Josh says, I think our build up most of the time is terrible. I only see 2 midfielders to build. Everyone else is pushed up to the box and difficult to pass to. Absolutely correct. It's so easy to mark our players out of the game. It's so easy to block off the passing lanes. The movement is poor. The spaces that we take up when we're trying to build up the pattern of play to get it into the final third is poor, and we very rarely manage to play the ball from back to front.
Do you know what was happening today? You touched on it as well. About towards the end of the game, it's about 78th minute when we're chasing the game, the back line have the ball, and then there's the other 7 players were all lined up against the other team's back line, right? So there's probably about 40 yards between them, between whoever's got the ball and the next closest player, probably about 40 yards between them, and the back line was still trying to knock the ball about short. Like, there's just such a disconnect between what's going on.
The thing with the system is, sorry Mordzs, I was going to say the most important thing, if he's going to be stubborn and say we must suffer and all that, fair enough, we've suffered a hell of a lot over the last 10 months, but the wing, we keep saying it, but the wing backs are going to be absolutely vital if he wants to play the 3 at the back. And currently, and this is on Amorim as well, because he brought in Dorgu. You know what I mean? And Dalot come in today. Yes, he's been injured, and obviously unforeseen circumstances with Ahmad, who probably would have played today. But Dalot's come in. Dalot looked well off it. And let's be honest. I mean, more long term. How long's Dalot been at United? You know, was he even a decent right back? I don't.
He had a season.
You're asking him to be a wing back.
Player of the year, actually.
Dalot was a good player.
This is where your width is coming from. And you look at the Etihad a few weeks ago, we got Dick 3-0, and Dorgu's finding himself further up that pitch, can't even clear the first man. The decision making, whatever. That is where your width is coming from, and it's all wrong.
I mean, we'll get on to it, but the wing-back situation is an absolute joke.
It's a joke. But at the same time, the midfield is as well. But if your width is going to come from there, is Dorgu the answer? Dalot long term?
That's a massive issue when you look at Manchester United and the footballing philosophy and who's doing the recruitment. I'll applaud the good things like I have done. Cunha and Boomer I thought were good signings, but Amorim's system is so heavily reliant on good midfielders and good wing-backs, and we abandoned them positions. It's like, do you not want to go full throttle into Amorim? Because if you go and buy wing-backs and you bring someone in who plays a back four, you might be in a little bit of trouble in terms of misprofiling. But wing-backs are so important to that system. And when Ahmad and Mazraoui are injured, he has the choice of Dalot, Diego Leon and Dorgu.
Make it make sense.
It's just...
Yeah, but that, again, it goes back to the point of why are we trying to force players into positions that they're not supposed to play in. You mentioned Dalot. You mentioned Dalot before. I genuinely feel like Dalot is actually a good player. I get onto him so much. A lot of people, I'm very critical of Dalot. I actually think he's a good player as a fullback, as a right back. Dalot is a good player, but we are forcing this man, this 26-year-old, I don't know how old he is, into a position which he doesn't want to play in. Go on.
I was going to say Dalot was Player of the Year for Manchester United in 2024 as a right back under Ten Hag.
Yeah, under Ten Hag. Yeah, that year when it was like him and Wan-Bissaka. When it was like him and Wan-Bissaka, and everyone was like, oh, he's whatever, and Wan-Bissaka ended up leaving, going to West Ham because Dalot was evidently the better player. Like you said, he got voted the Player of the Season, something like that.
One of our centre backs was Player of the Year for us, like twice playing left back.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like we've got a bunch of players who, in their natural position, are 10 times the player that they are right now. But nearly every single one of them is being forced into positions that they are not good, they are not able to play in, and they don't want to play in. And because they're playing 10 times worse, it's now making them seem like terrible players, but actually not as bad as we even see.
Yeah, but you said good, right? And that's why I'm talking about. If he's going to stick with this system, and your wing backs, not left back, right back, as you just said, Dalot played well at right back. He's now being asked literally to get up and down. That is your defensive attributes and attacking. You have to be the full package. Good in this system for Amorim is not going to be good enough.
It's not going to work.
You need to be an absolute specialist in that area, and he has brought in Dorgu because he thinks he's the answer. Yeah, he can get up and down the pitch, but
Dorgu's not. He's a left back.
Dorgu's probably like.
Best attribute is defensive.
He's a left back. He's not a left wing back. And you know what's funny? Yeah, for one of these shows I was doing, I went and I searched up. I went on this website and I looked up the different formations that different managers have played throughout last season, innit? I looked at all like the top managers like Pep, Arteta, even like Xabi Alonso, a couple of other top managers in not just the Premier League but across Europe, and a lot of them had played last season about 3, 4, some of them 5, 6 formations throughout the season. They were constantly changing here, and they had their standard formation that would work for them for the majority of their games, but here and there they would change up the formation when they needed to kind of suit who they were playing against, but also the players that were available. Amorim had done one formation for the whole season. He was the only manager that I searched up who hadn't changed anything. To me, that just shows a lack of adaptability and the ability to be able to look at your opposition and look at your team and be able to say, okay, look, I need to do this to be able to get the result. He was the only manager to have played one formation, and unsurprisingly, he lost the most games out of every single one of the managers that I searched up. So for me, that kind of shows that, look, Amorim, in a situation like today where we didn't have, Ahmad wasn't available. Dalot to me is not a great wing back. We clearly didn't have enough wing backs to play this kind of formation. Centre backs wise, yeah, you can say that these guys are good or whatever, but looking at the opposition's team, we know that Brentford are going to try and play on a counter, which they did. They just play a long ball, and you have Maguire as your last centre back. You're clearly not looking at that your opposition, and you're clearly not being able to identify their strengths and our weaknesses. That's why we conceded goals. Why can't he just look at it and say, look, I need to change my formation to be able to suit the team we're playing against and also the players that I have in front of me to be able to get the best results. And that's why he's losing every single game.
Can I just mention something on that as well? That was Amorim's actually gone on record as saying about Pep Guardiola, the one thing that he admires about him as a manager is his ability in game, before a game, to adapt to the way that the other team is going to set up. So if you've got a manager in Amorim who sees Pep Guardiola as like the top manager and actually admires what this manager does by changing tactically, little tweaks in the system, whatever, but you're not actually willing to do that, and let's say that Pep at this moment in time is probably the best manager in the world, why can't Amorim, am I missing something here, or would Amorim not be looking at that and thinking the key to success is actually being able to adapt? Because the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over, and getting the same result, but expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, like Si said, square pegs in round holes, the system has to go. Samaf says the players are not good. If they were good in their positions, then Ten Hag or Ollie would still be here, not these snakes who are people you trust to be good. We've got new players in. We've got a whole new front three. We've got new players in. Like, It's just I'm not buying into. Yeah, we need better players, but I'm not buying into that. We're massively underperforming. Josh says, I've done Josh's one. Siswi says, I feel like we play better football when he first came in than now. We have decent attacking front three, but they're very disconnected. We have Chewy563 saying Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw in 2025, what a joke. Play the future, not the past. Robert says, got to sack him today. There is no point keeping him. It's over and it's not going to get better. Useless tactics and players not bothered. Conte in. Alonso says players are not good enough. Amorim is the right coach, but it's at the wrong time. Sad, really. So a lot of different opinions here. Wales says Bruno does not take accountability and deflects blame. He puts his head down and the team is only as strong as their captain's mentality. FYI, Dalot is absolutely the lowest IQ player in the Premier League. Angling for More says, I'm not saying Ollie should come back, but his first 10 games was the last time I was happy watching United. David Arthur Young says, do you think Bruno was forced to stay? In my opinion, it would explain the poor attitude and lack of concentration. It's been worse than usual. Marcos says, ask Amorim if he would leave now without compensation. I'm sure we would take that deal if it was on today. I doubt it. Dan MUFC says, sorry, but Ruben is done now. Too stubborn, poor substitutions made. Should have took Bruno off when he was on the yellow. Poor football. Can't see Amorim staying now. I think he'll have to walk. Sad times. And Connor Eden says, this manager should have been sacked in December. The game Xerxes got booed off. It was obvious the players didn't have a clue what to do. This manager would get relegated from League Two. Rob says, I'm not surprised about today, but now Amorim has to go. I think United should go and try and get Adoni Areola. What does the panel think? Well, speaking of which, Bournemouth are 1-0 up against Leeds. Tell you what, Rob, we'll come back to potential managers and if Amorim should go in a second. I just want to get in Amorim's quotes. Red Army has said, absolutely no style of football. He's obsessed with possession, plays with 8 defensive players, just taking random shots from everywhere. He has to be sacked. CJ says, since Potter was appointed, he picked up more points than Amorim. Let that sink in about how far our standards have fallen. Graham Potter picked up more points than Amorim since his appointment. Now that is damning. Speaking of which, Ruben Amorim's been talking. Sorry if I've not got around to super chat, everyone. There's loads flying in, but trying to get through them all. Ruben Amorim has been talking and he said this. He said, we talk about this every time. When we lose, we need to work on a lot of things. In the final third, we missed a lot of crosses. We played how Brentford wanted us to play. We never settled down in our game. We never pushed the opponent. It's always the same. When we win, it's not the problem with the system. But when we lose, it's the system. I understand that.
We lose
it's like the personnel in the system and he's choosing them.
No, we lose 10 times more than we win.
Yeah, so it's not an irrational thing to
why wouldn't you say that? He's trying to make it seem like, everyone's up and down, but you've lost way more games than you've won. I understand it if you won 50-50. It's not 50-50.
Yeah.
He's lost, what? I don't even know what the number is right now. What is it like?
I've got it down here actually. It's Premier League games 33, wins 9, draws 7, losses 17, 34 points from 99 points.
Sorry, but that is so...
It's ridiculous.
17 losses, and it's not even
When we win, it's not a problem. When do you win?
When do you win? Exactly. When are we actually giving them...
What,
let's be honest.
We won last week.
Let's even be honest, even this season, we've won... How many games have we won? 1 game?
2.
The Chelsea game. I didn't even watch it, but I didn't even watch that game. But even the Burnley game, everyone was still very critical in that game as well, because we just about won. I don't think anyone left that Burnley game thinking, oh yeah, what a great performance from the lads. No, there was a lot of criticism as well in that game. All the other games that you won last season were all relegated teams, so I don't know why he's moving he's won loads of games and everyone's just been super happy with him. There's been way more negatives than there have been positives. And I also don't like the fact that he never just says, I've made a mistake. He never just comes out and says, I got this wrong, I picked the wrong team, or I set the team up wrong, or I told him to do this. It's always, oh, this player did this, or this player did that, or we've done this. No, just say, look, I've made the mistake, I've done this wrong. Have accountability to the clear fact that you've been a big factor in the fact that the team has lost 17 games in 9 months. That's a ridiculous stat. That's embarrassing. We haven't won back-to-back games in the Premier League. Not even under Room. I think the last time we won back-to-back games was in March or something under Ten Hag or whatever. He has to just come out and say, look, I've been terrible.
Would any other big club, and I mean when I say big, I mean like your Real Madrid's, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, whoever
West
it be,
Ham
and United
wouldn't do this.
Would any of them? And I know Real Madrid's a bit one of them where you look and think they literally, if they're 1-0 down at half time, they've all got the white handkerchiefs out and that. But in terms of a manager like that, they wouldn't stand for that.
West Ham
not for 1 minute sitting here and saying get rid of him tonight and all this and going absolutely mental. But again in the summer, the things I look at is the midfield. I'm like, we need a midfielder. And then next minute Cunha's through the door and Mbumo. I do look at that and I love Mbumo. Cunha, I'm thinking, it's a lot of money that. I'm like, nearly 70 million for Cunha. And yet they're on the phone to Brighton. Belabor, 100 million? Bit there that. Well, could you not have used that money, the money for Lamans? What was the point of signing him?
The point in signing Lamans was to pull the wool over our eyes, and I'm sorry.
He's already gone on record this week as saying, oh, we're actually after a first-team goalkeeper now. So
we got shown that as if he was going to be number one. Don't worry, we've not signed Emi Martinez, World Cup winner, Premier League proven, mentality. We've not done that, because we're signing a number one goalkeeper who the scouts are obsessed with. Loads of clubs were after him. He's going to be our number one. They were the briefs. We're in October. Nearly. Still not number one. And it's like we were sold that he was number one goalkeeper. Paid 18 million. Yet he's not even played a minute. He's not played a minute. And we were desperately in need of a number one goalkeeper. And that's how you sold it to us, to get us to be quiet about that. And that frustrates me as well, because Amrim, now the transfer window's shut, after the game against Chelsea, we need a number one. I thought we bought a number one in the summer. And
my thing with that as well is not able to try and take the blame away from the players, because again, we haven't even really spoke about the players individually, because we need to do that, because some of them were terrible today. But I don't think even if we had Belabor in this team, we would have been any better. I don't think if we had prime Messi in this team, and Ronaldo, and R9, and I don't matter who we had in this team today, I genuinely feel like we still would have lost the game. Go on.
I agree with Chris here. Yes, Amrim wanted Martinez or Costa. Amrim did want an experienced first-choice goalkeeper. I'm not just blaming it purely on Amrim. Amrim is massively culpable for the results. His record is appalling, and you've got to hold him accountable for in-game management, the way he sets up his team. And you've had a full week, you've not got European football, he's got to hold accountability. But you also, I am criticising him when I talk about the goalkeeper. I'm not criticising Amrim for that decision. It wasn't his decision, he wanted Martinez. I'm criticising for the positions where we're not strong in, the recruitment team or Ineos, the board, who put their full faith in changing Manchester United's whole structure and system to this back three, wing back style, and then not following through with the correct profiles for the correct positions. That's what I'm criticising here, because you should have sporting directors and people in there that know exactly which areas are priorities and what profiles to go and get, and we haven't done it in the correct order, in the correct way. It's
and that's what I'm saying.
Multiple causes.
Yeah, and Amorim is the main person that I'd like to think it wasn't just pure scattergun, like, oh, we can get Cunha, we can get Mbeumo, we can, you sit down at the end of the season, you work out the weak parts of your squad where you need to strengthen, and that's what it should have been. I always maintain that it should have been a central midfielder before Mbeumo or Cunha. But at the same time, what I cannot sort of forgive at this moment in time is the fact that he keeps playing Bruno in midfield. I've said it so many times here. You always say, oh, you don't like him in midfield here. I know he did well last week against Chelsea. It was a bit of a strange game with the sending offs and that, but other teams will overrun us big time in midfield.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, I'll ask you three, obviously the people watching a question. This whole he needs specialists in certain positions. I'll be honest, now I'm just looking at it and I just see it as just the worst excuse ever, because the way how I see it is there are other teams, let's say I don't know, Liverpool or Arsenal. I'm back in Liverpool could go and play a 3-4-3 and still win. They don't have specialist players for a 3-4-3 formation. They just have players who were able to adapt, but also a manager that can just put players in a certain system that will work regardless of the formation. I feel like we're just giving Amorim the excuse of, oh, but they're not a specialist wing back, or they're not a specialist central centre back, or they're not a specialist midfielder in the team. We're just giving him the excuse of that because we're hoping that when he does get those players, everything's going to click. To me, that's nonsense, because I've seen Newcastle last season, I've seen Crystal Palace, I've seen all these other teams that are not the top teams change formations throughout the season without having specialist players and still play well, still win games. So why is it that for United we need specialist players just to play his formation? What if Amorim decides next week, actually, you know what, halfway through the game I want to switch to a 4-4-2?
Brilliant point.
Are you going to tell me that they're not specialists in 4-4-2 anymore, so they can't play in this formation? Doesn't even make sense.
He ended the game with 4 at the back, didn't he?
I don't even know what he ended the game with.
I was going to say, I'm not watching it, but I was going to say I'll watch it back. I'm not watching that back.
I think that's an excellent point, and it's something that Mourinho spoke about in his clip that got brought back up. It's not about the formation, it's about the principles of play and your principles in your game. And this is what gets me, is so many people say, but he's not been given a midfielder, but he's not been given this, but he's not been given that. And I absolutely take that on the chin. We would be better if we had better profiles of players. I don't think you can deny it. But the fact of the matter is, he's nowhere near getting the best out of the group of players that he's got. Nowhere near. This group of players are better than what we are seeing. And I think it's such a good point from you to make that about the formation, because I do believe a team like Liverpool, a team like City can change formations and still be a really good team, and that's because they've got players that know exactly what they're doing, all singing from the same hymn sheet, that are well coached, and it's like a well-oiled machine. United just look out of sync in every department, and it does come down to the hierarchy and the manager. It all comes down from the top. And
100%. And you can't tell me, no one can tell me now confidently 100% that Marco Silva or Iraola or even Nuno, who's just obviously come into the
West Ham job.
What other managers are there? I'm going to say Eddie Hearn. What's he called? Eddie Howe or any of these other managers.
Give Eddie Hearn
to
the end of the season.
You can't tell me that none of these managers are not looking at this United team thinking, I could do better than that. Even, what's he called? Sean Dyche said on that.
He put his hat in the ring, didn't he?
Yeah, even he said, I'll get better results. And I actually believe him. I believe
that
Sean Dyche. I believe that Sean Dyche will get better results.
Moyes would get better results.
I still believe it.
I believe that now as well.
I believe that.
You should bring that clip back.
I believe Ten Hag will get better results for the team right now. I believe that everyone. I genuinely believe that most managers in the Premier League, like the vast majority of managers in the Premier League, are looking at this United team player for player and thinking, if I had those players, oh my gosh, I could do so much better than what he's doing.
Give it to Ricky till end of season.
Yeah, Ricky could do better than this.
V said we need to start talking about subs. How does giving Joshua Mason and Cobby 10 minutes before stoppage time help the result? Jacob97 says get Keane in now, have a trial for the club under 16s up. Denzel says the team gets top 10 at best. We have unreal inflated expectation of these in players. Get real, still too many deadwood players. Enchanted Angel says Ricky's interim till the end of the season. Nicky Dean says, what would you think about appointing Roy Keane for the rest of the season? He would get a grip of the team and give them the leadership he's crying out for. Keane,
probably get arrested.
Next manager is long overdue. Yeah, it won't happen, but I understand.
Imagine Ricky in charge of United.
I think we'd
actually play.
Imagine everyone with them big
I'd love to just see it after
fingers
like 10
with like
games.
team shape on it, flags and team shape.
Darren Mulaney says we need to go to a back four, even a 4-4-2. It's not going to change.
You see, I don't know about that because like I was thinking about it before. Do you know when we were saying like change the formation based on the game? I know it's in hindsight, but what would you change today? Like put an extra centre back on the pitch, like play 4 centre backs or 5.
I would have played 4 at the back with Dallow and Dog, who was at left and right back. But it is what it is. I want to get onto this topic of talking about managers. Question: do we think Amorim's going to last the season? Quick fire.
No.
I think he'll last the season, but I don't think long term.
No.
I think he will go in summer, but it's got to get really, really, really bad for them to get.
I think he'll survive.
But
I think it's purely down to Ineos. I really don't think that they will like cut off the nose to spite the face, because this is their decision at the end of the day, you know. And this is now put on us, where the question is going to be: should he stay or should he go? Well, do you know what, Ineos? This is up to you now to kind of decide this, because you were the ones that give Erik ten Hag that contract. Then what was it like? Less than a year later, you had to sack him, pay him off. You brought in the manager that you wanted. You know, a lot of fans are behind Amorim and want him to succeed, but it is kind of blind faith at this moment in time. You know, if you're asking me this evening, when I'm getting home, you know, after the day that I've had watching that, and you know what I'm supposed to say to my mates down the pub, the ones that are, get behind Amorim, Kev, you know, and all this kind of top red stuff. Right, fair enough. I'm trying to be very, very patient with this manager, but this moment in time, it's a two-way thing. If I'm not seeing any developments, any kind of improvement on the field, then it's absolutely insane for me to continue backing something that I'm not 100% behind.
Gonna be honest, I don't think he makes it past Christmas. I don't see a world where he gets till the summer. Like, honestly, I applaud you for having that sort of faith. I do not think he gets past Christmas. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love him to turn it around. I would love him. Next game, it's amazing. You know, we can see the improvement, and you know, he doesn't have to win every single game to now until the end of the season. But if we're not on track for at least a top 6 finish, which I don't think will look like we're in for at all, by Christmas, I think he will be gone. Like, honestly, how long can you set your stall out that these are the standards at Manchester United to avoid relegation? How long? How can the standards at Manchester United be? You'll get to summer if you can avoid relegation. No, we should be fighting for top 5. And I know we're not near them teams yet, but you should at least be fighting for top 5. Or, you know, top 6. You could kind of get on board with that. He's not won back-to-back games. He's been here for 10 months. If things don't change, there is no way that it can continue for the full season. It
wouldn't be acceptable anywhere else.
And I'm happy you said that, because this is a point I made in another show about. I only think the reason why people are still Amorim in, or whatever you want to call it, is because your standards are just in the bin. Like, your standards are just so low, you're happy. A lot of people would have been happy and would have been boasting at the fact that we would have won back-to-back games today. And the fact that I'm saying that is even embarrassing. And the fact that there would have been people that would have been gassed at the fact that we would have won 2 Premier League games in a row today, because it would have suited their point that Amorim should stay, kind of shows how low your standards have gone. And I made this point on one of the other shows that, like, we're expecting Amorim to get to level 1 for us to get a little bit of trust in him. But the reality is, our expectation for what we actually want as a manager is like level 50. We want a manager that can possibly win the Premier League in the next 5 years or whatever it is. But we're actually going to be happy with the fact that he can win 2 games in a row. That's how low our standards have gone. So when people ask me, why don't you think Amorim is a man for the job? Well, because he hasn't done the first step in terms of even getting to where a Premier League champion or Premier League manager can get to. We should just be having back-to-back games every other week. Like, that shouldn't even be a conversation with us. Like, United Strand shouldn't even be a thing. I love him as well. Like, he's my guy. Like, I speak to him all the time. What he's doing is hilarious. But that shouldn't even be a thing. Like, it shouldn't even be. It shouldn't exist. That the fact that we haven't won 5 games in a row. But our standards are so low. We're looking for the bare minimum before we can give Amrim any kind of round of applause. Why on earth do you think he can take us back to the top?
Do you know, you talk about standards, and it is a great thing, and I will share something with you. It's like, it's a little bit embarrassing now when I think, but it was the Chelsea match the other week in the studio watching it, and me and Ricky, literally with a couple of minutes left, and we were both kind of stood up, and we're like, blow the whistle. Even Ricky looked at me and said, you'd swear the way that us two are carrying on here is as if when the whistle blew, we were going to be awarded the Champions League trophy. And that's how low we are. We celebrated that. When the final whistle went, the relief, it was 3 points. And in past times, games against Chelsea, yeah, they might have been big games. And you kind of go, yes, 3 points or whatever. We actually celebrated that like it was a cup final. And yet, a week on, we're subjected to this.
Nigel Speedle says we're not finishing top 10 this summer with this manager. Simple truth, and that is low. I mean, I'm going to talk about which way you'd go if he did go. I don't think he's going to go yet. A lot of people think he's going to be sacked after this game. I don't think so. I think he'll get at least until the international break, and I think he'll probably get further than that, based off the fact that Ineos need this to work, because he was the guy that they brought in, and I think Dan Ashworth actually left the football club off the back of it. I don't know what exactly went on, but it was around that similar time. Ruben Amorim said this, which I just want to ask you about before I talk about that. I'm not here just to protect the players. I'm trying to do what's best for the team and for the club. I see the guys in training, and I feel like during the game they are not the same when it is hard. And we have heard this before. I remember Benny McCarthy said he couldn't understand in training, they'd look amazing, and then they get to a game and he'd think that's not the same players I've seen in training. What do you think that comes down to?
I don't know.
Comfortability. Because you know they'll get picked again next week. Bruno knows he'll get picked again next week. Shaw knows he'll get picked again next week. There's 8-9 players who get picked week in, week out. It's such a cliche thing to say, like, play the youth, but change something at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, just there's got to be a massive, drastic change, because the direction it's going in, if they just keep going that way, then yeah, it's inevitable he'll get sacked or he stays, he'll get relegated. He's going to have to change something massive.
I agree, and I think on that point as well, like, obviously we're not managers in it, so we don't know exactly how to get these players to transform or to translate what they do in the training pitch on the match day. But what I will say is, in terms of that big change, I think Amrim, if he really wants to get these players to follow everything he's saying, there has to be an element of fear in it. There has to be an element of fear as to, though, if I'm not doing exactly what this manager is saying, and obviously we can't see what's on the training pitch, because in my head they are doing what's on the training pitch, it's just not working. But so if Amrim's saying, nah, like, what you're seeing on a match day isn't what I'm seeing on a Thursday or on a Wednesday or whatever, there's something wrong, then to me that kind of shows that, like, these players have no fear of the manager. They don't look at the manager and think, oh, if I don't track back, or if I don't press like this, or if I don't do this, the manager's gonna. They have no fear at all. And when you look at the top managers, let's be honest, the players are scared of them. In a respectful way, not in a like weird way, but like in a respectful way. And I don't really want to bring up Fergie, because obviously that's the past in it, but like, let's be honest, they were scared of Fergie. We always hear ex-players talk about him and say, I would even dare not do exactly what he tells me to do, because I know there's going to be big problems if I don't do that. And it's the same for all the other top managers across Europe. There's an element of fear a fear and respect that these players have for the manager, where they will 100% do everything in their power to translate what is going on during the week on a match day. I don't see that with Amrim with these players, and it goes down, like I said, it goes down to him making these big calls. If he goes and drops Bruno one game and says, nah, Bruno, last week you didn't do what I told you to do, you're not playing next week, I promise you everyone's going to be like, oh, nah, okay. Like, this is the problem.
Do you know what? Let me just come in here dead quick. I think Amorim talks a big game, and I think he's a good speaker. If he really believes what he's saying there, Bruno's on the bench next week, Cunha ain't even in the squad next week.
Yeah.
I think he can I think anyone can talk a big game. And I think he does it very well. I think he's a bit of a sweet talker in his press conferences. And I think it's blagged us for a very long time because he is easy to listen to. However, I don't think he actually believes half the stuff he says, if that's actually one of his morals, Bruno's on the bench next week, Cunha ain't even in the squad next week, probably ain't even play wing backs next week.
Dallow's not playing at all for the rest of the season.
Exactly, the back line would be completely different. Lammon's goes straight into the team. If he truly believes, the only people who'd stay would probably be Embuemo and Sesko out of that entire team if he truly believes what he's saying.
I saw someone put in the chat, Jose is a perfect example of this. I remember when Jose was managing Chelsea, mid-2000s, and he had Hazard, the best player in the league, one of the best players in the world. No one could chat to Hazard at them times. But Jose came to that team and said, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you will not play. Go and research it. You don't believe me, go and research. You didn't watch football back then, go and look it up. Jose put Hazard on the bench. He said, I don't care if you're the best player in the league. If you're not going to do what I'm telling you to do, I would rather lose without you than to go and let you play and to give you the opportunity to prove me wrong. I don't want you to prove me wrong. You sit on the bench and do what I tell you to do. And that is a manager who, like I said, he has that element of fear and respect from his players.
Pep did it at Barcelona, didn't he, with Ibrahimovic?
Pep does it.
And he was a big name at the time.
Pep has sold
Pep
sold some of the best players in the league. You know what I mean? Like, not because he doesn't like them, but in his mind, it's like, well, I don't want my team. It's my way or the highway, innit? So if you don't want to do it my way, then I'll sell you, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So for me, and a lot of people give Amorim credit. I know I'm being super harsh, but I don't even care anymore. A lot of people give Amorim credit, for getting rid of Rashford, getting rid of Garnacho, technically getting rid of Højlund and all these other players.
Sancho.
To me, that was an easy choice. That to me isn't even that ballsy.
I was going to say it's an easy win with the fans.
It's an easy win. Like Rashford already, let's be honest, the fan base wasn't really on his side. Everyone already fell out of him already. There wasn't he knew that if he was to go against him, there's not going to be a huge backlash from a lot of people. No one was really onto him too much. Him sending Rashford on loan, when Rashford even said himself that he wants to go out and get another challenge, wasn't even that big of a decision in my opinion. Him doing the same thing with Garnacho when Garnacho called him out in a press, not called him out, but he'd obviously he'd liking tweets and he said all that stuff after the Europa League final. Another easy choice in my opinion. Sancho was even playing for him. Another easy choice. To me, they're not big enough decisions for me to look at Amorim and say, you've got big balls, you're the kind of manager that doesn't take anything from no one. That to me was the bare minimum that he probably could have done. I think a lot of managers would have done the exact same thing. If you really want to show that you've got balls and you've got this thing about you where no one can tell you, no one can kind of go against you, go and drop Bruno, go and drop Cunha, or go and change a goalkeeper. Go and make a big statement where everyone in that team looks at you afterwards and says, okay, now I've got full respect for you because I know that you are really you really don't care about anyone's name, anyone's reputation. I'm not safe. You're going to do what you want to do, and that's what's going to happen. So, I'm not really on this whole, Amorim's got this, he's brutal. I don't really see it.
Do you know what as well? That quote today, right, that's going to stick in my mind for a long time, that now. Because if we get to Sunderland next week and the 11's near enough the same, I'm sorry, he's a fucking bullshitter. And I'm sorry to use language like that, but there's no other way of putting it, is there? You can't say that and then keep Kobbie Mainoo on the bench when you're midfield, you're picking Bruno in the midfield every week. You can't come out and say, but they're not... they're not digging in the tough times, but they're not changing it. That you're just a bullshitter.
The top managers do it. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson is an extreme case, but I remember being a kid, the summer when Mark Hughes, Andrei Kanchelskis, and Paul Ince left. What a statement that was. You're making a point there, Mordzs, about sending a message out to the others. I can even think of David Beckham leaving United, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Jaap Stam even going back. The day that Jaap Stam overstepped the line was supposedly to do with an autobiography that he released, and it had details of Gary Neville being a busybody and all this, and Phil Neville and all these comments. Fergie just went, nah, and to the other big players in that squad, you would be like, what the hell is going on here? If he can get rid of Beckham, Van Nistelrooy, Stam, Kanchelskis, whoever it is, then I'm not safe here. And I think it is quite, what would I say? It would motivate you a lot more if any line of work, if you're there and you've got a little bit of insecurity where you think, I need to up my game here, because if he can get rid of this, let's say Jaap Stam, then he could easily get rid of me tomorrow. Keeps you on your toes.
I think it's the only way Amorim can come back. If he does something like that to proper wake everyone up and it's a firecracker, I think this is the only way. However, you're in a situation back in the day where obviously Ferguson had massive respect. Sir Alex Ferguson had huge respect. So, you know, if he did that, you shut up and listened. Amorim, with however many points in how many games, doesn't have that.
Can't compare
He just doesn't. And on top of that as well, look at the players that Fergie had to pick from. Whereas Amorim, you know, you bench these players and there's not maybe a wealth in depth for you to go to. However, I do think there's enough there to make a statement like Tull said. And I think it's the only chance he has it getting people back on side and turning things around, a wake-up call. JR says, any manager comes in and puts Manu straight in the team. The K-Stone says, they're not playing Brentford in training though. True. Huntsy says, it's because they're training against themselves.
Do you know what I was actually going to say that earlier? And I wasn't even going to be a joke, but I was going to say, is it that these Premier League team, the players, are actually better than what they're training against?
Ross says, standards on the floor, but laughing all the way to the bank with record revenue. The owners need to go, or the cycle of managers is continuing. Nigel Speedle says, we're not even finishing the top 10 with this manager, and it's a simple truth, and that is low. Hosni says, okay, but what now? 13 plus years of downhill for this club. Barca, with 5% of our budget, had a plan for post-Messi. We can't still find ourselves 14 years later. Visas says, contrary to what you say, the problem is every manager thinks they can do better than with these players, so we never get a reset, and Amorim thought the same. St. Blanco said, United fans are too soft in Manchester. There'd be riots in Liverpool. Amorim's a charmer, but so am I, and I've been dumped. Time to move on. Carl France says, same players time after time. Sai says, Manu and Ugarte work in a different system. Class of 99 said, I missed your super chat. I'll go and look back for it and kind of finish on the show in it as well. And then Jacob says, rank 1, 2, 3, Daesh, Keane, Carrick. I mean, I just want to ask, I mean, none of them are going to be coming into the club. I think Carrick obviously is the best pick for me out of all of them. But if Amorim did go, this is just a question. I'm not going to ask for names or anything. If you want to give names, that's fine. But if Amorim did go, it's a question I've been asking, and please just comment yours in the live chat so I can bring it in, you guys at home. Would you go for a Glasner type manager who is, by the way, beating Liverpool right now, and I'm being told Liverpool are lucky to not go in at half-time 4-0 down. Would you go for a Glasner type that has the system that we've started to build with Amorim so you don't have to change the system back, or would you go for back to like a 4-3-3 type system with wingers and fullbacks?
Such a tough question, that, isn't it?
No, you know what I would say? I genuinely feel like Glasner could come in his team and just change the formation and still win. Like, I feel like Glasner's not a stubborn manager. I feel like he would come in his team and look at it and think, this team would play well if they just played like this. I'll bring my principles, but I'm going to set them up in a way that every player is in their best position, and we're going to play like this, and they'll still win games. And that's why I feel like Glasner, I mean, I don't really know who the best choice manager is, I'll be honest. I don't know who the best choice manager is. But if it was a Glasner type, I feel like he would be able to come in and he wouldn't force a formation onto the team that doesn't work. I feel like he would come in with a bit more of an open mind and say, I can see what formation would work best with each player, but I'm going to bring in my principles so then they can follow what I've kind of been teaching my other team to do, and they're going to be able to still play good enough football to win games. So I wouldn't mind a Glasner if he was to come in, but I feel like he would do something different.
Right, you guys, any preference?
Glasner, I think, would be the popular choice. It just seems a bit thingy. It's not, well, obviously you're asking the question, aren't you? Yeah, I would say that. I don't think there's much. It just needs something different, doesn't it? It's just like this little tweak or, you know, something. But, I mean, if Amorim doesn't work this out very, very quickly, in theory, he's sacking himself, because it's absolutely insanity if he thinks that each week. I live in hope every week. Every single week I'm coming here, whether I'm going to Old Trafford, whatever, and I'm thinking, this is the week that it kicks in. Amorim ball. And it's just, you know what I mean? It's
do you believe it's ever going to come, Kev?
I'm here for believing it. I'm, you know, a supporter.
Is there anything that makes you believe, or is it just blind faith?
Probably, yeah. Probably a little bit of both. I don't mind saying that. It's, you know, I don't know. I've seen little glimpses, but not enough to suggest. I can't remember the last time we kind of dominated a game from the first whistle to the last.
I mean,
and we played teams like Burnley, with no disrespect, you know, in that time.
I mean, so I don't know. Get in the comments down below what you would do. I mean, I know what you would do, Mords. What would you do, Tull?
In terms of new manager,
would you give Amorim more time? Like, how do you feel? Just to close.
I'd give him bare minimum till Christmas time. just because only really is damage limitation in terms of the mess it causes. You'd have to bring in an interim. Who would that be? I don't know. Probably either Carrick or Van Nistelrooy is probably the only realistic options I can think of maybe coming.
Or Ollie, he's out of a job. Yeah. I'm joking. I'm joking before you click
it'd
that.
Be someone of that ilk who'd come in and just take us to the end of the season while they look for.
Have Carrick and Van Nistelrooy got any kind of past history of fighting relegation?
Carrick did well in his 3 games.
Van Nistelrooy kind of.
Maybe Carrick because he was around. Obviously, a past player, and he was around when Solskjaer was, he's one of Solskjaer's coaches, and I believe the players thought quite highly of Carrick. The training sessions him and McKenna were doing. They've spoke about it before, so I feel like it'd be that until the end of the season. But in terms of long term, it's long term we're really speaking about. See, I don't know. My brain tells me you've got to get someone with a bit more experience than Amorim. I think that's what's really shown with Amorim. I think he's massively underestimated the Premier League. I was thinking when you said before about him playing one formation the entire time, I think that is just massively underestimating what the Premier League is. It's a different kettle of fish. So yeah, somebody who's maybe won something or at least been in those high pressure moments, right? And I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago when it got brought up, and I can't believe I'm even saying this. I'd have never ever said this 2 years ago. I'm not saying do it. I think Gareth Southgate would do a miles better job. I'm not fucking joking.
No.
The guy's been to loads of finals. He'd actually do it. He'd do a miles better job.
It's been a long day.
I'm sorry, he would.
You need to recharge your
He's one manager I don't like more than Amorim.
He'd do a miles better job than Amorim is. He would.
No.
You're entitled to your opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion here. But
it's because anyone would do a better job than him. Do you know what I mean? But he's got more experience.
But that's not what United should be aiming for.
No, it shouldn't be.
No way United should be aiming for that.
He's got a bit of experience.
No,
Man United should be aiming for like Luis Enrique type managers, not Gareth Southgate.
It comes to standards. I guarantee this evening there'll be conversations going on. Like we've mentioned earlier, Sean Dyche to United to steady the ship. No, but it will be going on. And you go back a couple of years ago and you look at it and you think Sean Dyche's name would have never have been mentioned in the same breath as Manchester United. And there will be people starting to panic slightly, and I wouldn't be surprised if Big Sam Allardyce has had a
Here's a quick one about Amorim. Do we stick with it a little bit in terms of what Arsenal did? Because Arsenal were crap under Arteta for 2 years,
they were 15th though.
But there's no other example you can use in football.
8th is not 15th. It's a big difference. It's almost double the amount of.
But in fairness though, remember Arteta's first season. Around this point of the first season, he might have been lower than where we are right now.
He
really did start poor that first couple of years, and they've stuck at it. And now we look and go, I'd love a manager like Arteta. Do you know what I mean?
We used that example for so long under Ten Hag, and it never came. Apart from Arteta, can you think of any other big club that's been on that same journey? Or any club that's been on that same journey? We always use the Arteta example, but there's so many examples of managers coming in and turning things around straight away. Like Thomas Frank's done it at Tottenham. I don't know how long it'll last for. It might not last forever, but he looks like a great appointment that he's just massively turned around a 17th place team. Emery's doing poor now, but he had such a good run at Villa. Came into a relegation team, made them go toe to toe with PSG in the Champions League. There's so many examples of managers coming in and quickly turning things around with what they've got, and everyone harps back to this Arteta example. But one, I don't think they were ever as bad as we are now, even though they were bad. And two, that's one example. And I would love to believe it. I hope it happens. And do you know what? If we were sitting around, 8th, I could maybe get on board, and even that is horrible to say because I want to be in Champions League. Finished 15th last season. There was a genuine chat about relegation. That's where I can't just stick with it out of blind faith. And do you know what? With Arteta, I feel like every single game as well, even though they were losing, you could kind of see what he was trying to do. When people were saying, you know what? I know they're losing games, but you can see what he's trying to do. You can see that they're playing well and it's just not clicking for him. You could see the direction they were going in. For Man United, in Amorim, I want it to work so bad, but I don't see anything.
I was going to say, even if we were playing out from the back and we were making mistakes, I'd look, but how many times did we go long today? And that must have been an instruction before the game, tactically. If it's going back to Bayinda, just launch it. And how many times did the Brentford players, whoever it was, we're just giving it
by
back.
your principles.
Yeah, we're just giving it straight back. So it's not the terms where I'm looking and going, all right, we need better personnel. We're trying to play out the back. You can see what. I'm actually not seeing anything, man.
Well, guys, we've gone way over there. We're an hour and 8 minutes into the fans forum. We've got to cut it off. Prince BB says, I think if Manu was doing enough in training, he would easily get into the team. Rebuilds aren't rocket science. Amram needs time. Jim Jam says, you wouldn't stay this long in a toxic relationship if it wasn't working unless you had no self-respect or standards. Where are standards as a club? Klopp at Dortmund. Andres Goose says, a comment like Southgate should get you fired. Hosni says, everyone's entitled to an opinion, guys.
No, I don't want Southgate as United manager. I just think
it's got bad. It's got
to the point where I'd struggle to say he'd do a worse job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, everyone, we're going to end on a simple question, and then we're going to smash a like on the video and all try and enjoy the rest of our weekends and not let it get us down. Okay? Okay. Simple question: does Amram and United get the win against Sunderland?
Yeah, because that's what we do. We've been beat today, so we're due then to win one, and then we'll lose one again.
8 away games without a win, guys.
Yeah.
Mods?
I'm going to say the same thing as Kev, yeah.
Win one, lose one. Win one, lose one.
Yeah, I think we'll beat Sunderland. They've been poor away. They've been good at home.
If it was away, I think I'd be worried. But at Old Trafford, there's no hiding. Against Chelsea, I thought the fans were actually like the 12th man that game. They were well up for it, so it was.
I agree.
There's no hiding at Old Trafford.
You'll really get to see whether these players are still behind everything on that game, because I think it'd be a very interesting game to see how we approach it. What I will say is at Old Trafford, you've got a full crowd there that are behind you, giving it you, and you've got to put the shift in. 8 away games without a win is just abysmal. I know people who've flown down to London to go and watch that game today. It's like, and the players do have to hold some accountability as well. Let's see. I'd probably lean towards more a draw, but that might just be because I'm fuming. But anyway, guys, look, I am off to the pub, and I hope you all do something with the rest of your day to make yourselves feel better. Not that, doesn't have to be alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverages. Yeah, whatever you want to do. Whatever tickles your pickle, however you want to make yourself feel better. Don't tell me how you do it. But we're going to wrap up the fans forum. Thank you everyone for watching. Therapy forum strikes back. Kev, thanks for sticking with us. Great points. Mordzs, spitting as per usual, and Tull as well. Some good insight there and just true back and forth with yourself there, a little bit about Southgate, but we will forgive you. Look, thank you everyone for watching. Please smash a like on the video if you're not already. I think Goldbridge is still live on That's Football covering the 3 p.m. watch along, so head over there now if you've not already. Palace are currently beating Liverpool, so you might want to go and see how that game plays out. We'll see you on the next one, everyone.